But we do have on, hopefully for permanent here, Tadarious Hawkins. Is it out?
You can't hear us.
Okay, so I'll hear like I heard that, but I did not hear anything that Eric said.
Okay, well, let me see. You were my pick. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. Let's see if we can hang with me for a second here.
Right,
I think I got the numbers right. I think you're the 19th pick in our draft we've set up here. Your teammate Brian Harrelson has already gone off the board as well. Eric picked him earlier.
My buddy.
A couple other readies who have been tossed around, so there may be some others, but we just want to chat with you like we've done with some of the other guys and ask you some things about your career at Henderson, your time there. Tell us maybe, for starters, what was one of your best memories? I think we've got a pretty good idea, but give us some of your memories of Henderson.
Man, I got a lot of them. I spent a lot of time there, between undergrad to my master's. So, I spent the full 4 years there, redshirted my first year. And I've got a few memories, some I wish I could have left behind, and then others that, I'll never forget. So, obviously the biggest memory for me is going to be that World Series run that we made. I mean, if anybody on our team from that year says otherwise, me and them might need to have some words. So, yeah, man, that process was the best thing, that we had going there at Henderson was that World Series run.
Yeah, absolutely. And more questions about that to come from the other guys, if hopefully you can hear them. And also, refresh my memory, did you graduate? Was that your undergrad or your graduate degree right before one of those tournament games?
So it was my my master's degree.
Yeah, that was right before. That was held at Henderson, right?
Yes, sir. That was one of the first.
Taking through that experience of there was a lot of your teammates that you were there with, and you kind of finished that academic career. You still got a couple baseball games left. What was that like for you?
Yeah, man, that was crazy because you're sitting there nearing the end. We obviously in the tournament, but that's always a fight to the death. From top to bottom, you never know. And so, having those teammates be able to look over and be able to see that, because one thing that I always wanted to leave with my teammates was that, there's life beyond baseball and there's other things that you have to do, especially, at this level.
Now, you're from Commerce, Texas, right?
That would be correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you come over to the Arkansas side of things. You become a ready. Take us through your decision to end up at Henderson and just kind of some thoughts on how that worked out for you.
Right. So, I was a dual sport athlete when I went to Henderson. Initially, the football team, they were trying to recruit me, but they thought I graduated in 2012 and not 2011. And so, I'm trying to make my decision. I have a few other schools. I have bigger schools that I could have gone to play football at, for instance, Texas State. But I was more about baseball. Like that's my sport. And, I didn't really want to go play football somewhere and get beat up at a big school when I could get the opportunity to go ahead and get school paid for and play ball. Right. And so I get to Henderson and I'm doing baseball, and all of a sudden a coach from football calls me and he's like, "Hey, what's going on here?" He's like, "We thought you graduated next year. We've been recruiting, whatever." And they were like, "We were going to get in touch." I was like, "No, I'm on campus. I'm already here, playing baseball." And they're like, "Well, do you still want to play football too?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." So I went out. And so because I redshirted my first year for baseball, I went out in the fall, for football and split spring between baseball and football. And man, that was rough for me. It was rough. I was sleeping sometimes 4 or 5 hours between, 6 a.m. for one sport, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock waits for another one. And so, you know, I was always on the run my first 2 semesters. And ultimately, you know, I had to make a decision. I had to say, you know, hey, we're not in high school anymore. I can't play everything, you know.
Okay, so let's go back to that World Series, and I'm going to step out of the way if anybody else has questions. But from the conference tournament to the regional, going up to Minnesota, and then the College World Series, is there one game in that stretch that sticks out to you as a memory or something you remember the most?
Oh man, most definitely. You know, it was big for the World Series, you know, in its entirety. But the particular one that jumped out for me every time is going to be the final game against St. Cloud. All right. I mean, the first one jumped out as a memory because going in there, we're the underdogs, you know, that was without a question. And I mean, we looked at their numbers and, you know, everything that they had going on as far as statistics and everything, and it just didn't make sense. It was mind blowing. I mean, it was crazy. And, you know, the first pitcher they threw against us had like a 0.6 or 0.9 ERA lefty. So we're thinking, oh, who are we facing today? Is it Clayton Kershaw? You know, like what's going on here? And, you know, but we still came out with the mentality that it was any man's game on any given day. And so that first one was kind of a surprise. But the big one was the comeback that we made against them because, you know, we had the rain delay. You know, we're trying to figure out who's putting the tarp on the field. They have no clue because they didn't have one. They had to ship one in. We had to help them get the tarp on the field, right? And, you know, going in, if we're being honest here, we were talking about preparing for Game 3. All right, we were talking about preparing for that final game, see winner takes all. And, you know, because at that point, I believe it was like 10-2 at that delay. And, you know, we said, you know, we're going to come back and fight, but guys, you know, if we got to save some energy, if we got to save pitching, we got to be smart here. And Coach Hooten kind of had that in his mind too, but he knew we were going to fight regardless. So once we started making those jumps on them, and you could tell they were getting frustrated. They were out of their element. They weren't doing all the yelling they were doing before, you know. And at that point, we figured, all right, it might be now or never, because if we come back for another game, then they're going to probably have the pitching ammo that we don't. They're going to have, you know, they may be better prepared for that than we would. And so, you know, we slowly make that comeback. And the most distinct memory of my career, and that will ever be, you know, Coach Hooten coming to the dugout trying to figure out if he wanted to pinch hit for Andrew Reynolds at the time. And, you know, he looked at me and he's like, you know, he gives me the old blow of the air and the rub of his head. You guys have seen that plenty of times. And man, he gets that and he looks, and there's men on the bench that have played the game for many years. But the big one that jumped out to me was Lessenberry. Yeah. All right. He's been through many state championships. He knows what a big time game environment's like. And Coach Hooten goes to him, and I'm thinking, hey, he might be the best bet. Well, first pitch he gets, strike he takes, slider. Next pitch he gets another slider. He swings and fouls it back, and he's down 0-2. And he looks over to the dugout, and he's nodding his head. And we're like, you're nodding your head, you're down 0-2, and you don't know what's coming next. And, you know, sure enough, he gets the pitch and drives that pitch. And, man, it was crazy because even with the setup, you know, they went to the old shift. But, you know, you guys have seen Hayden Lessenberry play. They put 5 infielders and then put a guy in right field and center field because I guess they thought he was going to get doors blown off because the guy did throw harder. But sure enough, old Lessenberry goes poolside, you know, 2 hops the wall, and there we are, dogpiling for a World Series.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I hope you've enjoyed going down memory lane a little bit with us.
It's like you have a perfect memory of that, and you're calling out pitch-by-pitch sequence of the at-bat. So it's
10th inning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We worked all the way back, and, man, what's another crazy thing is, you know, AJ Cruzel, that man had struggled all year. He has struggled all year, and he had been switch hitting, but he had been hitting so much better from the left side of the plate. And, you know, Coach Hooten had been trying to get him, hey, let's just go left side for a while and get comfortable. And, you know, if you want to go back to right, we'll do it. And, you know, he stuck to his guns, and he gets a pitch and doubles off the wall, and he set the whole thing up. So that was kind of wild in itself as well.
Well, listen, Tadarious, you were my pick. I'm gonna give you your team that you're working with here, okay?
All right,
we got Corey Wood from UAM. We got James Bond and Jacob Richardson from SAU. Juan Gonzalez from Oklahoma Baptist. Justin Thomas from SAU, and John Franklin Matros from Washita. That's our crew right now.
All right, hey, we're looking good. We've got some good ones in there. I like it, Mike.
All right, thank you.
I most definitely spent time against, you know, all those guys, so I remember them.
Yeah,
they're special.
Well, today, hopefully you're hearing me here.
Can't hear it.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we're going to let you go then, and we'll keep on going with the draft. Thank you for jumping on with us.
All right. Take care.
All righty.